Hello friends, welcome to this video. Today, as you may have guessed from the title and thumbnail of this video, I am doing a Wings of Fire tribe generator challenge. I think pretty much everyone who likes dragons has heard of this book series, but if you haven't, Wings of Fire is a series of books about dragons, and they're really good and you should read them. One key aspect of this book series is that different, pretty much breeds of dragons live in different tribes. And the tribes have different habitats, different lifestyles, different abilities and histories. And that plays into some of the key conflicts of the books. But it's also really fun to see and learn about all the different types of dragons. And it's pretty common among fans of this book series to make their own Wings of Fire tribes because it's really, really fun. This challenge specifically, I got the idea from a YouTuber called Arcane. The A is a 4. I'll put it on the screen and I'll link the channel down below. Essentially what Arcane did was spun an emoji randomizer wheel and then made a fan tribe out of the result of that spin, which was really cool. I actually ended up Googling Wings of Fire tribe generator, and I found a really good one that I will also pop up on the screen and link below. So that is what I'll be using for this challenge. Alright, so this is the prompt I got. It says, this tribe lives in beaches and is an omnivorous tribe. They have a large, bulky body with twisting horns. They have extremely small vents that produce sparks on their tail tip and below the eyes, and this tribe is able to shoot out poisonous spines. Some of this tribe can also swim for long distances and force both dragons and animals to fall asleep with their touch. This tribe does not have any animuses. First of all, I have to say I'm really thankful for this tribe generator. I've kind of wanted to make a tribe for a while, but I just haven't really had any good ideas. And this generator does a really good job of like giving you these tidbits that can really help you build this idea in your head. Anyway, for some reason, as soon as I saw the description of this tribe and I saw beaches, I started thinking of how there are lots of different types of beaches, right? Beaches have cliffs, beaches can have just sand, they can be rocky, and that gave me the idea to have a very stratified society with this tribe. There is an aristocracy that lives on the cliffside, and I figured cliffside would equal aristocracy because it is both, higher off the ground. It's a pretty clear symbolism of like the upper class is literally upper. Get it? Okay, that wasn't funny. But also, I'm thinking in terms of flying, it's a lot easier to fly if you kind of get to drop off a cliff. But if you have to take off from the sand and get like a running start or get bogged down in the sand, it's like a lot easier to take off from a cliffside. So I kind of just thought the aristocracy would live on the cliffs because they have easier access to just glide out into the sea or wherever they want to go, and it's not a lot of work. And also, no one likes having sand in their crevices, okay? No one. The more lower class dragons have to deal with that. They have to deal with the sand, they have to deal with the rocks and the mud. They're in more danger if a storm comes because they're, just not really protected by these high walls of the cliffs. I envision them as a working class, collecting fish, seaweed, building things, they're kind of doing like the manual labor jobs, if that makes sense. And the aristocracy are like the politicians. They're probably hereditary, like there are families at the top and families at the bottom. It's like royalty and nobility versus peasants, basically. In my head, I'm kind of envisioning a story where one dragon who is born with the ability to like put dragons and animals to sleep rises up against the aristocracy. I feel like that would be pretty cool. I like how this tribe has a lot of these special abilities like lightning vents and shooting poisonous quills. They're quite formidable, which is exciting. I like how I made them kind of like cute looking, but they're also like poisonous and dangerous and stuff. I think that's funny. I wish I had done a little bit better at making their bodies more bulky, like was described in the generator, but overall, I'm pretty happy with this one. Okay, so I had to do it again because I had a lot of fun with the first tribe and I wanted to make another one. And I actually had done an emoji spin earlier to like try to do the challenge made up by Arcane, but then I was kind of struggling for society ideas and I was like, oh, let's look up a generator to see if there's one online. And there was, and I'm not sure if you'll believe this, but the emoji I got was a camel. And this just happened to be the second description given to me by the tribe generator. So I'm like, oh, okay, guess I'm definitely doing a second one because camel, desert, it's literally perfect. So the text says, this tribe lives in the desert and is a carnivorous tribe. They have a small body with twisting horns. This tribe has vents that produce smoke on their neck, forehead, and upper front leg, and some of this tribe can see in the dark and tell the future. This tribe does have animuses. There are currently none alive, with them being genetic alive. Not sure what the last sentence quite means, but I'm going to assume what that means is there are no animuses currently alive, but the genes are still there in the population and one could be born in the future. That's what I'm deciding that it means. You know, like the genes are recessive, so there are probably some heterozygous carriers out there in the population. No, you will never catch me squandering a chance to talk about science and biology and genetics. I love them. Also, I just have to say, the more you learn about the genome, the more you realize how weird it is, and you're like, how are any of us even alive? And it's kind of awesome. Okay, anyway, on to body and society. I actually thought of some interesting, I think they're interesting, body things with this dragon. Body traits, yes, that would be a more accurate term. So because of the camel, I was thinking some type of hump, but I'm not super partial to hump, and I feel like if I put a hump on the dragon, it would be a little bit too literal to the camel. So I decided to give them a tail like a leopard gecko. So instead of storing water and nutrients in a hump, they store it in their tail. I also gave them a sail on their back, potentially to dissipate heat in the same way, you know, like jackrabbits and other desert creatures have large ears to help them dissipate body heat. I'm going to say that the smoke vents are for a similar purpose. They help the dragon dissipate body heat. This tribe tends to be nomadic. They live in small family groups between 20 and 30, and they kind of travel throughout their lives herding camels to eat because they're carnivorous. Also, I thought it would be funny to include camels because they're based off of a camel and now they also eat camels. These family groups interact mainly at oases where different members of these different groups can intermingle, switch, trade, get married, you know, all the fun social things. In my head, I feel like this tribe tends to be pretty peaceful. You know, they know how to live off the desert really well, so there's seldom conflict over these oases. It's not like they're held by one family who controls this certain oasis, although that would be kind of interesting. I'm also kind of sort of thinking of making them nocturnal because a lot of desert creatures end up being nocturnal, and because it kind of goes along with the description of the tribe that some of them can see in the dark, and maybe I'll fudge it and say like most of them can see well in the dark. So because the dragons themselves are nocturnal, but their camel herds are diurnal, in my head I'm kind of envisioning this like life where during the day the dragons sleep, the camels wander around and eat, and at night the dragons wake up, make sure that all the camels are kind of like rounded up, and then they go about their business and watch over the camels and find any who strayed too far away. And like because they're not a particularly like conflict heavy tribe, it's very rare for like one group to steal another group's camels. I think that would be a serious social faux pas, if you ask me. So, like, one of their insults that they call each other is like camel stealer or camel thief, and that means you're like a no good, sneaky person, dragon. I'm also thinking because they're nomadic, they keep their eggs in like a sling across their chests when they have to move. I think that would be so cute, actually. I'm also envisioning them like bartering for like silks and soft fabrics to cradle their little eggs. I just think that would be adorable. You would think that maybe because these dragons kind of lack a ton of special abilities, they don't have poisonous spines or lightning powers like the other tribe does. You'd think maybe they'd be vulnerable, but I think because the habitat they live in is so harsh, they rarely get interlopers. If there's an attack, these dragons can just fly into the desert and know that their foes probably can't follow them. So the only threats they would really face would be like from sandwings. But I'm kind of envisioning them on a different continent or something like that so they don't encounter sandwings. And also so my beach dragons don't encounter sea wings. If I were to write kind of like a short story about this tribe, kind of like the last one with the uprising, I would think their conflict would center around dragons stealing their oases, like dragons from another tribe. Maybe those dragons developed a technology to survive the desert like a little bit longer than usual, and now this tribe is threatened because what once was their trump card, their ringer, the desert, it's not quite defending them as well as it used to. So I kind of envision them in a situation where they have to take back their ancestral oases, because without them, I mean, they're really well adapted to the desert, but they still need water and their camels still need food. So because these dragons are nocturnal, I think I imagine them like attacking in the night and then disappearing into the desert, bandit style, like guerrilla warfare. This is a little bit morbid, but another thing that just popped into my head is it would be cool if, as they're trying to fight this foe, they kind of learn more about the gifts the desert is giving them to fight. And one of those is the dreaded desert toad. The toxins this toad secretes onto its skin are deadly, but if you're careful, you can dip your claws into these toxins and then you have poisonous claws to use in a fight. Is that too far? I don't know. Maybe that's a question they have to ask themselves. Is this too much violence? Is this too far? Are we straying too far from our peaceful society? Are we becoming just as bad as the enemy? I love that trope. It's got to be one of my favorites, so obviously I have to use it. I thought it would be cool to give this like desert dweller some accent colors, so I gave them like some bright blues, and because the tail is where they store their nutrients, and between the segments of the tail they have these bright blue patches. It's kind of like the fatter their tail is, the more blue you see, and also the healthier they are. So having like a really blue tail means you're really healthy and you're a very attractive dragon if you have a fat blue tail. So clearly I had a lot of fun with this. There's a bit of rendering left on this guy, but as that plays, I'll kind of get to the climax of this video, which is you have to let me know which one you like better. Do you like the beach ones? Do you like the desert ones? No, I have not thought of names yet because I'm terrible thinking of names, but I'll put some at the end. Please let me know if you can think of a better name, because naming is the worst part. I don't know why. This is my struggle with like character names, creature names, all that. It's difficult for me. I personally really like them both. I think that the design of the desert dragon ended up being more unique, but the society of the beach dragon kind of intrigues me more in terms of the conflict, and the shading and rendering went better on that one. So I really am conflicted in which of these two that I like better. In terms of environments, I gotta say beach. I grew up in a desert, so No thanks. In any case, I hope this was entertaining. It was really fun. I think that I want to do this challenge again sometimes and pit two more tribes against each other. That would be pretty cool. And of course, feel free to continue this challenge. I got the idea from Arcane. I kind of switched it around a little bit and used someone's website that I will again link. It's really fun if you want to make a tribe but you don't really have ideas. It's like a really good start to an idea. Okay, so I decided to call them Tide Wings and Scorch Wings. I know these aren't particularly inspired names. I'm just not great with names. If you have anything better, let me know, please. Anyway, thank you for watching. I'll see you around.